Hey guys, so I have downloaded a video diary thing for my computer because once I started those videos, first of all, I've been listening to them, and upon reflection, it's kind of nice to have on hand. And at the same time, I keep thinking of things that I want to tell different people. At some point, I probably will make individual little videos for, Mom, Dad, Elizabeth, Ben, whoever else, Stammy, who knows. But again, there's so many different people that only know certain parts and need certain things explained that some of it's going to have to be individualized. But today I was thinking along the lines of, I don't even know. It just kind of came up. But I did post a video, a meme on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. And it was called What Not to Say to a Friend Experiencing a Mental Health Problem. I have it pulled up here on my computer so I can reference it. And an old friend who I haven't seen in years responded with, if you don't want us to say these things, what things would you like to hear? Like a genuine question, like, okay, obviously we still want to be helpful. What can we do? So, and I know there's actually one specifically for bipolar, but I will probably add in a few of those a little bit later. But I thought it'd be nice, whether you have bipolar or, depression, PTSD, postpartum depression, anxiety, the list of mental health issues are a mile long, if not longer. There's so much going on in the world that our brains function differently, and there's so many different, it's a world out there, and some people, adjust in different ways, and that's okay. So, I'm reading some of these because I've heard most of these. Keep in mind, as I said, in case this goes viral or something, I was technically diagnosed with bipolar when I was 20. I rejected medication because the lithium that they gave me made me completely forget. I don't remember that 6 months of my life at all. I vaguely remember bits and pieces, but I have no idea what I did during that 6 months. So I told some psychologists to shove it, and I'd like to actually remember my own life. And then 2 years ago, I had suicidal thoughts, which was not that I was suicidal, it was suicidal thoughts, which is different in that once they started popping into my head, I went, this isn't right. I don't think this way. I have no intention of killing myself, but for some reason my brain is running with whatever idea this is, and I'm not okay with this, which is where I ended up in the hospital. Since then, I have had a few people approach me differently. I've had some people that understand, some that don't. And so, as I said, I've heard most of these phrases. So the first one, you need to get out more. With mental disorders, yeah, we do need to get out more. Sure, exercise is like one of the number one cures for depression, which makes complete and total sense. Get your endorphins running and stuff like that. But keep in mind that it's not a cure-all. It's not going to fix absolutely everything. It'll make us feel better temporarily. And frankly, a lot of the times we need somebody to be like, hey, we're going to go biking. You should grab your stuff. Why don't we go pick up some ice cream? Hey, what are you doing this afternoon? Let's go do X, Y, and Z. Something, sometimes we need a little bit of a push. But then again, there's also the side where if we say, no, thanks, I really can't move. There are times where we just can't do it. It's too overwhelming. In my case, once things get overwhelming, I tend to do like the extreme introvert. I will find a little tiny corner and I will bury myself as far as I can into it, and I don't want any contact at all until my body has kind of like suctioned out the worst of it. In that case, no. I'm not going anywhere. You don't want to touch me. You don't want to talk to me. Just let my body recover. It's all in your mind. Oh, that one I haven't heard so much. I've tried to believe it myself. There are a lot of holistic remedies. And for a while there, I did use St. John's wort and vitamin B, magnesium, which are helpful. But there comes a point where, no, this is not in my mind. No, I'm not imagining things. This is an actual diagnosis. In my case, my bipolar is genetic. And the PTSD, that's actually the harder of the two to deal with. But thanks to the major events like, the meth lab, dating a narcissistic gentleman for 2 years who completely controlled and defined everything I ever did. Being date raped, the single parent thing, all of those things have conglomerated into PTSD, which So the dog just puked. If I had led more of a normal life, which the universe has decided I'm not going to, then the PTSD may not be there, but I still would have the bipolar and the depression and the anxiety. I'm not quite sure if that would be around still or not. So it's not all in our mind. There's no way. If I could wake up tomorrow morning and be completely fine, oh my goodness, it would be awesome. It would be great not to have to question every single step I take and not to have to, like today, I had to tell my boss, by the way, so those few weeks ago when I couldn't call in, I physically couldn't because I was in the hospital in the mental ward, because my body stopped functioning and I couldn't pick up the phone. The fact that I even emailed you is kind of mind-blowing. I don't even remember doing that. Yeah, I would love to not have to deal with the bipolar. Oh my God. Or the depression, or the PTSD, or any of the triggers that I have, or not feeling anxious. I mean, there are so many things that make me anxious, it's not even funny. And the kitty has decided to help. Hi, Pumpkin. But you have nothing even, I think there's supposed to be the word to, but you have nothing even to worry about. Bullshit. I have one medication that if I don't take it, one of the side effects of withdrawal is potentially death. Is that what they're referring to? Probably not. But I constantly worry about people finding out. I don't want people to know because there's such a bad stigma attached to it. Not to say that I am perfect by any means. Far, far, far from it. But we do have things to worry about. People assume that I'm going to fly off the handle. Nope. I may do something a little bit more extreme than an average person, or be a little bit more, I'm going to use the word passionate because that's probably the closest definition I've ever heard. But yes, we have things to worry about. We worry about medication, appointments. Some of us are as bad as even going outside. Fear of a massive amount of things that could or should happen. Anxiety. Oh my goodness. At work, I am jumpy as all get out because I have nothing but 2 walls in front of me and my back is wide open and I can't see anything that's going on behind me. So even the smallest noise makes me jump. And I know nobody's there, but I still constantly worry about who or what or could be or whatever else. Stop complaining all the time. I've gotten that one. I got that one from my former best friend about a week before I went into the hospital. I texted her and said, I'm not okay. I need help. And her response was something along the lines of, you need to stop throwing yourself a pity party and then expecting me to make you feel better by placating your emotions. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If somebody with mental health problems flat out walks up to you and says, I need help, I'm not okay. That means they are asking you for assistance, whether it be driving place they feel more comfortable, driving them to, a counseling appointment, or go to the doctor's office, or in my case, occasionally the hospital. Making sure if they say I'm not okay, I can't find my medicine. Okay, then priority number one is going to be finding your medicine. A lot of our medicines build up over time, and if they start waning, the effect starts waning quite quickly. You don't complain for fun. At least most of us don't. I know there's some people that really take the mental health problem and make it larger than it actually is for attention. And for those people, I feel very sorry, because if that's what you have to do to get attention, then you got bigger worries. So no, we don't complain for fun. Most of us are afraid of telling people about what's going on. Again, because of stigma. Who knows? I always knew you had a problem. Ooh, this one gets under my... I don't even know where to start with this one. My problem is my problem. I have made decisions in regards to my mental health for years. Even in junior high school, I was diagnosed with ADD, which, sure, I have. Great, whatever. I've learned to survive it. But I was also the one that went, nope, I am done. I do not want to require a pill every day for the rest of my life just to keep my attention span going. It's my personality. ADD in my mind can be worked with instead of working against. Some of my favorite personality traits are because I'm ADD. But assuming that you know what our day-to-day life is and what we have and what, it's terrible to basically walk up to somebody and be like, oh, I have felt so sorry for you, and we always knew you had something wrong with you. So wait, what you're saying is I am not a human being that deserves some compassion or anything? Thanks. You rock. Okay. There's nothing even wrong with you. Oh my God. This one I don't think I've heard because, and again, most of this is my case because I don't want to use other people's examples because I don't have their permission, and it's not necessarily right to share other people's stories. So a lot of this is just going to come back to my experience and maybe, some other whatnot. There's nothing even wrong with you. I put up a damn good front. I have done things like lose jobs because the variance in my personality can be so different sometimes, especially if I'm not medicated or managed. Yeah, the pumpkin knows. She knows what's up. She also knows to get out of my way. There's something wrong. Don't think that we make again, it all boils down to if I could wake up tomorrow morning and be a quote unquote normal person who doesn't have to take all these medications and doesn't have to check in with the psychotherapist and doesn't have to go through counseling, which eventually makes me cry and feel anxious, and then I have to take more medication, I would kill for that kind of life. In fact, I did. I almost died, so to speak, because I avoided it for so long. And that's not really 100% true, but if I had continued to let it go without taking care of it, I probably would be dead by today. For a multitude of reasons. So yes, there's something wrong. Stop looking for attention. Awesome. Yes. That's all I want to do is get everybody's attention right on me while I'm dealing with God only knows what things. And this cat is persistent, and I don't know why. She's doing laps. I hide as much as I can flat out. Unless you're directly related to me or you're Tammy. I actually don't think I've told anybody else, really. I don't know. There might be one or two random things that people I had to tell. That's all I've told. And as of today, my boss, one-on-one, I did not announce it to my department. And I told my boss, whose name I won't use, that I don't want the department to know. I barely wanted her to know. One person in HR knows because they have to help me fill out short-term disability. No, I don't want attention. Keep it away from me. You don't look anxious or depressed. I will say, I started anti-anxiety medication, which I needed, and I didn't really realize until I had it. And I was like, oh, a little part of my life is now better. And my mom point blank said, she's like, you've never been an anxious person. What the heck? Yeah, I have. We don't have to look like we're one thing or another. We're not walking around with neon signs on our foreheads stating exactly who we are and what we're doing. We're just trying to live in society without, going crazy. Actually, I shouldn't use the word crazy. Counselor told me it's a bad stigma, which I agree with. Okay, crazy is the only word I can find right now. Again, we don't want this life. God, it would be nice without it. So we don't look anxious or depressed. It's very rare that you will notice me straight up getting anxious. I think a couple people have noticed and not told me due to some of the letters of recommendation that I got. But it takes a very small trigger for me to suddenly become hypervigilant. Somebody used that in a letter, and it's actually incredibly accurate. Pumpkin, this video is not about you. So, hi, kitty. Dumb cat. We're not gonna, stand around announcing things. Cat, really? You. Love you. Go away. Mwah. Here's my PTSD cat. I don't know. We're not gonna look like it. No. Don't assume that you, again, know what's in our head, because a lot of times we're going to fake it because we're either embarrassed or don't want things to change, don't want people to know, don't want special treatment. The list goes on and on. You aren't pushing yourself enough. In the case of bipolar, you don't want us to push harder. We just get dumber. Things get bigger and more elaborate, either one direction or the other. As I said, if I let my manic go, the things that I do would blow your mind. I don't want to push myself. Same with the other direction. My latest bout of depression was more than enough. I don't want to push myself further into depression. With the PTSD, there is some things that I can say I've minorly recovered from, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't still affect my subconscious. Diesel trucks. I had one that went by me on the road today, and I didn't even realize the fact that I suddenly became hypervigilant, had to figure out what kind of truck it was, which direction it was coming from, what brand it is. I had to know. It wasn't something where I consciously was, and I mean, over time that may change, but that takes a lot of work and a lot of assistance. It's not something that I can up and change myself. Again, wouldn't it be nice if I didn't do that? Sounds like you were going crazy. If you know me at all, I've always been a little bit crazy. Why we don't want to hear that? Because we're not all the same. If you took all of the mental illnesses and lumped them together and assumed we're all crazy, no. I mean, Tammy and I are both crazy in our own bout of friendship, sure. But in that definition, it means that We do goofy things together. Like, we'll take the kids to the movie and totally sing along to The Greatest Showman. Sure, we look crazy, but that's okay. It's, just adults being, well, no, we weren't acting like adults. Either way, crazy is such a generalized term, and it covers so much, and it's not an accurate depiction of anything. And at least in my mind, the term crazy makes me think of like the 1920s, what are they, sanatoriums? Whatever the hospitals were that held only the quote-unquote crazy people who were hospitalized for things like, I don't know, women were hospitalized for being crazy because they read too much, or they had certain qualities that weren't acceptable in society, and they needed to, have their blood drawn. And if you need a prime example, there was a short story I had to read for a class called The Yellow Wallpaper. And it basically boiled down to a woman had postpartum depression, and her cure for being crazy was being put in a bedroom. I think she was chained to her bed. And she may not have been crazy before it. And again, I'm using the term crazy as a generalized thing. She may have recovered from her depression if it had been addressed properly. But again, it was the late 1800s, early 1900s. So nobody knew anything. But eventually it got to the point where she started seeing the wallpaper moving. And she started like ripping at her own skin and things like that. That's not crazy. That's a predetermined condition called postpartum depression. And actually there's a secondary step of I can't remember the name, but there is actually a second step beyond postpartum that if you don't get it treated or treat it properly, it gets worse. So crazy is not a defined definition of any of the words that should be associated with mental health. You need to stop feeling sorry for yourself. Well, that falls under stop complaining all the time. Yeah, I feel dang sorry about myself, and I have every right to. Don't tell me what to do. There are days that I wish I could just hole up in a cave and not exist. And don't get me wrong, I have days where I also have to go out and make sure I have correct medications and that everything is lined up correctly and that I make sure I get to appointments and that I have to do X, Y, and Z. But every once in a while, we're gonna feel sorry for ourselves. I'm sorry. Everybody is human. Everybody has problems. There's no reason that anybody should not be allowed to have feelings. Okay, there. No one ever said life was fair. I can't totally disagree with this. You're right, life isn't fair. It was probably my mantra from my childhood. Life isn't fair. I think every time I whined about something, I was told that. And to that, in my perspective, all of us have our troubles. Even those that have the perfect life with, 2.5 children and the white picket fence and the house and the dog and whatever, you never know. There could be trouble with the marriage. One of the kids could be autistic. Somebody could have diabetes and, is constantly going through, what's it called? The kidney cleansing where I have to go 3 times a week. It may look perfect on the outside, but everybody has their issues. Big, bad, ugly, small, invisible, whatever. No, that's just a judgy way of saying that you don't get to be yourself because you have no reason to complain. Complaining isn't necessarily a healthy vice. No. But it's also healthy to feel the emotions no matter what they are. And because if you pent them up, they'll just build up until you eventually self-implode in a healthy way or not a healthy way. And let me tell you, the unhealthy ways are really unpleasant. So no, life isn't fair, but everybody has their demons. And these, at least for me, these are my demons. And I have to take care of them. It's my job. It's your own fault. No. First of all, the bipolar is genetic. And I'm pretty sure my grandma Min was bipolar. Everybody else hated her. I thought she was a freaking riot. She lived to be 100 and went, and I don't even remember how, she went in with like something really basic and ended up dying 3 days later of obstructed bowel or something like that. That woman, though, would be the first to tell you things that you didn't want to hear in the first place. From what I understand, my dad's childhood was not pleasant. I don't disregard that at all. Abuse is not a good thing. Don't do it. Don't let somebody abuse you. If you need help, there are plenty of abuse hotlines. Worst case scenario, contact me. And I know the joys of abuse, and I will be there for you. But now we're getting off on a bit of a tangent. So the bipolar is genetic. As for the anxiety, I think that's rolled into the PTSD. Now, some of these actions that have caused the PTSD, someone could try and say that it's my fault. You could try. I put myself in those life decisions. I dated people that didn't necessarily have their best interest in me. I've been in karma situations that I could not get out of. And I mean, even something as simple as, I don't know if it's considered PTSD, but I have told my mom that every time somebody suggests that I'm overweight, I automatically snap into army mode, which I know there's a couple of girls at least from my unit that went through the exact same thing, and at least one person ended up in the hospital for malnutrition. But when you mention the fact that I'm overweight, my brain automatically clicks into army mode, where I'm not allowed anything more than 500 calories a day. I start stocking foods that I eat. Whatever I'm eating, I'm going to be documenting and eyeballing and counting calories like nobody's business, to the point where I'll eventually be eating like 226 calories a day, because that is my knee-jerk reaction. Is that my fault? Oh, God, no. That's a whole political rant within itself, but there are unexpected things that even in normal terms can cause triggers. So don't ever ask me to diet, please. I've come to the conclusion that I am the best in shape when I don't focus on what I'm eating, because as soon as I start focusing, my metabolism dies because I stop. Given I'm not anorexic, but I've come damn close. So no, it's not our fault. It's nobody's fault. There's bad things happening every day. There's also phenomenal things happening every day. Wouldn't it be nice if it could get PTSD for amazing things? That'd be like freaking amazing. Wow, I want that. Okay. If that anybody comes up with how to give yourself happiness PTSD, let me know. I could use some. Things aren't that bad. Bullshit. It comes back to, we don't look like we're anxious or depressed. Well, if we don't look it, then of course it's not true. Bullshit. Each of us have our demons. At my worst, my absolute worst, I was being manipulated by a man who had convinced me basically everything on the planet was my fault. And I was responsible for all of the bad things that were happening in his world and how he was feeling. And I was responsible for not taking care of X, Y, and Z. And, I mean, I've got witnesses and people who have experienced it as well. If you feel like you're in a kind of relationship where somebody is, making you feel like everything is your fault, where they are pushing their if they don't appreciate you for exactly who you are, and you feel like they're constantly trying to change you, and you find yourself blaming yourself for things that make no sense, congratulations, you're in a narcissistic relationship. And I would beg and plead, same as with abuse, if you think you are anywhere near a narcissistic relationship where you don't feel you have any worth, where you feel like everything's your fault and that if you could just change this, everything would be fine. If I could just dress correctly, then he'd be happy. If I could just, make sure that dinner is at the table at a very specific time, then he'd be happy. If I, could predetermine his needs before he even knows, then maybe, I'll be a better girlfriend or what. Trust me, I can go on for days. I've already got myself a little hyped up. Please, contact me. Contact somebody. Narcissistic relationships are one of the ugliest emotional types of abuse that exist. There are people that don't make it out. And those people they end up being unable to function. So if you're in a narcissistic relationship, please reach out. If you even think that you might, gaslighting as well. There are a lot of different types of emotional abuse which don't leave bruises on the outside, but damage like your entire life being through manipulation and verbal conflicts and he would purposely pick fights in certain areas and then string me along in certain ways so that I couldn't leave him, or he would blackmail me or whatever. Either way, get out. If you need a place to stay, I have spare room. I have couches. I have Christopher's bed. If you are in a narcissistic relationship, I don't care. I will not judge you. I've been there. It's ugly. Get out. Call somebody. Call a family member. Somebody. Just do it. Anyway, just snap out of it. Get over yourself. Oh, it would be so nice. So, and then there's one I wanted to add. Because I posted a couple of months ago and I don't know where it went. There was an article saying 5 things that you shouldn't say to a bipolar person. And I wonder if I can look it up online while I'm doing this. Let's see, because this might actually work. Sorry, I was expecting the internet to knock down the video. 5 things to say to bipolar. Okay. I think this is the page that I went to. Dang it. Oh, no, I can't find it. Maybe Cosmopolitan has the answers. Whatever. Actually, I could probably read some of these verbatim. Surprisingly, Cosmo has some good ones to point out. First of all, are you bipolar? The head tilt, it really adds. I'm bipolar. Are you diabetic? Do you have a cold? Are your feet sore from standing all day? Oh, my favorite Southern phrase. Bless your heart. As it said here, that's like asking somebody if they were cancer or are diabetes. No, we are not our disease. We are human beings with stuff that we have to take care of. It makes out that everything about them is characterized by their illness rather than who they are. Yeah. Every one of us is different. Every case of bipolar is different. Every case of depression is different. There is no, we do not fit into a box. It does. I have bipolar. That doesn't mean that I am the stigma that is bipolar. Oh, this is a good one. I get moody too. You can get moody. Have at it. But if I get moody, I don't shower for weeks. And I, suddenly decide I don't know, what's a good one from this week? Actually, I haven't been too bad this week. I've had a couple of ups and downs, but nothing major. There's a difference between moody and bipolar. Moody is when you're PMSing and suddenly you want to eat an entire sandwich and, oh wait, no, mine is Chinese food and ice cream. I want to sit and watch chick flicks and eat ice cream and Chinese food. Actually, Chinese food now sounds really good. Bipolar, way off of left field. As I said, like, I've broken dishes out of a rage of hyped up anger. I have, I didn't know it was a thing, but sexual promiscuity is actually a thing in bipolar. Like, you cannot get enough sex. Sorry, brutally honest adult, but it is what it is. Oh God. I once was able to, well, actually, the first time I got diagnosed, all I had to do was walk up to a doctor and say, I moved 13 times in 1 year. Congratulations, you're bipolar. That's all it took. I have scrubbed entire walls. Like, I remember one time when I was living in Seattle, I went around and scrubbed every single baseboard. Not just like a couple, no, I scrubbed all of the baseboards through the entire apartment. That's how it was. I mean, I can't say it was OCD because it wasn't, but I could not handle, like, not scrubbing the entire, it just moody my ass. Calm down. Actually, here, I want to go back to I get moody too. Bipolar UK says that mood swings between 4 and 6 on their mood scale of 0, low, to 10, high, is norm for non-sufferers. Bipolar sufferers will often feel highs of around 8 and lows below 3, right down to suicidal depression of 0. Well, that wasn't as informative as I thought it was. Calm down. On days of extreme highs, hypomania, where you swing from euphoria to sudden anger, or psychosis, losing touch with reality, are the norm. While on down days, severe depression kicks in, making sufferers feel worthless, exhausted, and suicidal. Yeah, the euphoria, it's great fun. I say that genuinely, because those of us that know, we enjoy our euphoria. That's why most of us fight medication. But there is also anger, and it's not something where you can stop and do a breathing exercise. Far from it. You have to bring it down or wait for it to run its course and, babysit yourself. Or, I have anti-anxiety medication because while I was walking through the airport yesterday, everybody was too close to me, and I started seeing people that there's no way in hell we're actually in the airport, and suddenly everything was like a dangerous situation for me. Yeah, I lost touch with reality. Luckily, I think it only lasted about 5-10 minutes, but it's not something where I could just stop and be like, oh, I'm okay. No, it would be nice. And same with the depression. Depression days are ugly. You couldn't pick me up off the couch if you wanted to. Well, you physically could, but it's not going to change a damn thing. Until either medication comes in or things balance out or we get some help, whether it be, personal help or medical help or, like in my case, my mom occasionally will come and power clean my entire house. Which even that small thing, I mean, even if it's just one room, will give me kind of that spark to get things kind of back up and moving, which is why I have to clean this living room. Are you like Stephen Fry, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Carrie Kotana? I don't even know who the hell these are. Yes, they suffer from bipolar, and it's positive that they're open about it, but every illness is different for different people. I've harped on this already. There is not one single case of bipolar depression, PTSD, OCD that is exactly the same. There are symptoms or suggestions of potential diagnosis, but not everybody's the same. Everybody's different. What happened to you to get bipolar? Nothing. It's, let's see. Very little is known about the cause, but there is strong evidence that it's due to changes in the brain that are impacted by the ups and downs of life rather than a moment or event. That's the first I've heard of it. Again, every case of bipolar is different. As I said, in my case, it's genetic. It runs through the family. And yes, I want to kick my dad every once in a while. I'll be like, you couldn't keep that DNA strand to yourself. Come on. You're not going to go mental, are you? We, over the course of time, learn how to take care of ourselves. It takes ups and downs and stumbles and falls. And yes, can I help you, Kat? It's like I live in a zoo. It's not bedtime yet. Oli likes to think she knows when it's bedtime. She usually thinks 9 o'clock is bedtime. We are entirely aware of our medication, our counseling, our psychiatrists, what could potentially be a cause, what could be our triggers, what we need to watch out for, what we should, what we need to do in order to make things better. We know ourselves. Doesn't mean that we like it, but we know. I'm still learning, but I'll get there. And no, we're not going to go mental. Most of us know where and when, or if we think that we can't handle what's going on around us, we'll ask, or we'll put ourselves in a situation where we feel comfortable. And no, we're not going to go mental. That's the dumbest phrase ever. And my favorite. There's two more. My two favorite. Okay, to finalize this video, we will address my two favorite phrases that I have heard for, I don't even want to know. Because these are the two that get under my skin the most. When will you be cured? And again, I don't blame my mother. Far from it. She has busted her butt to help me out. But at one point she's like, well, someday you'll be off all of those medications, right? No. Not unless they find some sort of crazy cure in the next 50 years. I'm going to be on mood stabilizers for, in order to keep everybody else safe and whatnot. I really shouldn't stop taking those. Same with my antidepressants. You don't want me not on antidepressants. And same with that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pill that I received that takes care of my dreams. You don't want me off that. You don't want me screaming randomly in the middle of the night. I scared the shit out of Ben the other day because my alarm went off right in the middle of like some sort of, I don't even remember what it was, but it was something enough where I woke up and screamed, which he then replied, Jesus Christ! And sorry for the profanity, if that's profanity to you. You don't want me to, because I scream, I yell, I kick, I talk. I want to be off the drug. I want to be able to sleep 8 hours a day and not show up anywhere completely exhausted because 8 hours was really only 2. So no, we don't get cured. And we have up times and down times, whatever. It takes a lot of counseling. It takes a lot of psychological analysis. It takes a lot of life changes. Like, I'm going to be hopefully getting Ava to be a PTSD dog. Will that deter some of my symptoms? Hopefully. That'd be awesome. And I've already thought about times where I'm like, oh, I could really use Ava right now. I could. But I will never be cured. Don't ask. It's not going to happen. My favorite, and this is my biggest pet peeve, and the best way to end this video, which is now 42 minutes long. Have you taken your medication? Guess what? None of your business. Okay, we're going to read the Cosmo definition here. Unless you're a very close friend or a family member, this question will probably come across as pretty intrusive. That's an understatement. Again, this isn't the entire world's problem. I don't need to be babysat. I don't need somebody to be looking over my shoulder. I don't need I'm 33 years old. I'm an adult. I work. I clean. I take care of other people. I am a fully capable adult of functioning. That being said, at one point, I realized I hadn't taken my mood stabilizers in 2 days and I was starting to feel it. And at that point I went, oh crap, I forgot to take my medicine for 2 days. And I did at that time turn to Ben because it was the holidays and I couldn't keep anything straight. I'm like, hey, if it seems like I'm getting this way again, can you do me a favor and just let me know that, or check and see if I've taken my meds? Because yeah, when I get exhausted and I have a headache and become barely coherent, I'm going to want to know that. But until that point, don't get involved. We have systems. We know what we're doing. We already don't like the fact that we're taking all of these meds. I hate the fact that I'm taking 6 different medications, possibly 7, depending on the day of the week. And actually, 1 more as of today, but that's only for 5 days. But no, I don't ask you if you have taken your medication for your yeast infection today, have I? No. So don't ask. Don't psychoanalyze me, or anybody else for that matter. I have heard more than once, oh, maybe you should try taking this. Maybe you should up your dosage here. Maybe you should try taking this vitamin. Did I ask you? No. Now, again, every once in a while I'll be like, hey, Tammy, it's one of those days I'm slipping just a little bit and I want to catch it before it goes too far. What's that vitamin that we take again that will help when we're not feeling quite balanced? It's magnesium. Oh, yeah, thanks. I'll have to pick some up on the way home. Totally different. But in the meantime, we got this. And kind of to put things into, roundabout perspective, 1, we are humans. Believe it or not. We are not what our disease is. We are not in a box. You cannot put us all into a group and say, hey, look, this is bipolar. No! Second of all, we may not look it, we may not act it, but we all have internal demons. Even those that don't have mental health problems have internal demons. Don't judge us just because we look fine. We've worked our asses off to get to that point. Again, no neon signs. Much as no, I don't want that. I don't like telling people. We're not crazy. We're not all going to be hanging out in the hospital mental ward, albeit they do have free ice cream there. And the people there are usually pretty entertaining. But again, we all want to be normal, happy human beings. Again, mental illness or not, living the American dream of being free and happy and, making our own decisions. What else did we touch on? We're not feeling sorry for ourselves for fun. We're not complaining because we have nothing better to do. Fuck that noise. Wow, I really am a foul-mouthed person. We may complain. Guess what? Other people complain too about much more piddly shit. Ben complained the other day because I put vegetables in my burrito. Actually, I think he didn't complain, but he gave me a funny look. They're vegetables. People complain. You have a bad day, you're going to call your best friend while you're eating your pint of ice cream, which reminds me I have ice cream in my freezer, and you're going to complain about how much your day sucked. Get over it. No, we're not looking for pity. No, we are not looking for just attention. In fact, I deter attention. I want it as far away from me as possible because the less that people know about this whole mental instability thing because of the stupid stigmas attached to it, the less likely that I'm going to end up with a group of people going, oh, poor Emily, the poor thing. No! I just want to live a day-to-day life. And I think I may have already mentioned this, but we have it. Most of the time, if we have done this for a while and we've been correctly medicated and we have been, taking care of ourselves and, seeing a counselor if we need to, or seeing a psychiatrist or seeing our, primary physician, whatever we need to do, most of us know exactly what's wrong and what we need to be doing. Don't babysit us. On the flip side, I will say this with the utmost of sincerity. If anybody, somebody walks up to you and says, I need help, can you please help me? Things are not okay. Please, listen to me. But I think the phrase really boils down to best, because I've heard it the most, is I'm not okay. Please help. This is important for everybody on the planet to know. There are times where people go through terrible things and it gets overwhelming, or it gets harder than they expected, or there's more put on their plate than they can handle. Single moms, actually most moms in general, but as a single mom, I don't know what the other people's life's like, so I have to use single moms. Single moms, there's a lot of times where they don't get any sort of time off at all to even do something as simple as like take a bath. I take showers, yes, but I've not soaked in a bathtub just to read a book and relax in probably 2 years. Same with somebody who has got suicidal thoughts. It doesn't mean that they're crazy or that they are unworthy or that they, are trying to, get your attention. Suicide is a serious thing, and it's crappy. Those of us with depression, if we reach out to you and say, I need help, there's a reason. It's not a phrase that I use lightly. There are very few people who have ever heard me even utter that phrase. And those that have, I thank you to the tops of the ends of the earth and back for everything that you have done for me. But honestly, whether you have mental health issues or not, whether you have medical issues, if you can't walk, if you have no legs, whatever, it should be, if you hear that phrase, I'm not okay, I need help, the first thing that should come out of your mouth should be, what can I do? And it may be something as simple as, I don't have the energy or the capability to go get something to eat. Can you just bring me a sandwich? Gee, that's difficult. In my case, I'm not okay. I need help. What do you want to do? I need to go to the hospital. Are you sure about that? Yes. Okay, let's go. That should be the whole conversation. I'm not okay. I need help. I'm overwhelmed. Okay, what can I do? It could really help if I could get my house back in order. Okay, let's get it done. There's a menagerie of ways you can help. And as I said, it doesn't mean we need to be babysat. It doesn't mean we need somebody to watch over us constantly. But as human beings, mental health or not, sometimes we all need help. So when somebody says that to you, please pay attention. And I will flash back here for a moment. If anybody out there feels like something I have said hits a certain point that's extremely important, I'm here. I will happily help whoever I can, because in my life I've had more than my share of people help me through things that were harder than I ever expected. Right, Kitty? Hi. I live in a zoo. If you feel you're in an abusive situation, call me immediately. If you feel you're in a narcissistic relationship, doubly so. It's going to be even harder than leaving than leaving like a physically abusive relationship. Narcissistic and emotionally abusive relationships are much harder on the mind, and I am here. I will be the first person to answer the phone. If I had the numbers, I'd give you suicide hotline or hotline numbers, but I don't have them. If somebody feels that they're overwhelmed with their mental distress, please contact me, or your doctor, or somebody, or your best friend, or whoever you feel closest to that will make you feel comfortable. So with that being said, it is now 9 o'clock and I volunteered for overtime. Silly me. So I wish all of you well. Thank you for tolerating all of my weird videos. There's more to come. Because this is just as much as an adventure for me as it could possibly be. As I said before, I've realized I am bipolar. I do have PTSD, and it's not going to magically disappear no matter how much I wish it away. So, in embracing all of that, here we are. Okay, so hopefully I can upload this to YouTube. If I can't, then we've got it on video diary. Love to you all. Hugs and kisses. Mwah. We'll talk to you soon.